So so what we're talking about is permission, and whether we have to ask permission of people who are housing and caring for animals, or do we just ask permission of the animals, which makes sense when we consider that the animal has agency, right? So they don't really we asking the person seems a little outdated and backwards than actually asking the orcas. So what we're going to do right now is, and the orcas and other animals. So what we're going to do right now is, as I was saying, Mel and whoever's on the phone, and Gabby, welcome, and Mary Lynn, welcome, and Heidi, welcome to all of you. What we're going to do right now, we're just going to check in with our bodies, and we're going to bring calmness to our bodies, and we're going to welcome the orcas because Bruce has brought them here today with us, and they're very excited, and we'll talk more about that. So if you can just close your eyes, bring your hands into prayer pose, into gasho, and just set your intent that you're open to receive whatever it is that you need most at this moment in time, and that you're open to support the orcas and any other animals that want to join us at this time. And we're just going to put our hands face up or face down on our laps and just take 3 cleansing breaths, breathing in deeply through our nose, deeper still, and then slowly releasing your breath out your mouth like you're breathing out a straw. And 2 more breaths like that. And whenever you're ready, you can bring yourself back, open your eyes, and now we can be ready to have joy and love in our hearts. We're going to release all stress and tension that we're holding on to today throughout this talk, because we're here to talk about something really joyful. And it's our ability to support any and all animals under any and all conditions. And we do that with love and support, right? So I made some notes, and I'm so glad that Kelly is here because there is a really wonderful example that happened to me, and Kelly was witness to it. And it was at the American Holistic Vet Conference I think we were in Kansas City, weren't we, Kelly? And
You were in Kentucky.
oh, Kentucky, I know, but weren't we it wasn't Louisville, was it? I don't know. We
Mm-mm.
were somewhere. It was right over the border. Anyway,
Right at
we
the
were
border. Yeah.
we were at this AHV, and they had carriage horses, and it was hot. It was really hot, and they had these carriage horses, and it was breaking my heart. And it was breaking all of our hearts, right? There's animals, they're working, they're sweating. It's not ideal condition. And so we were at dinner, and I saw one of the carriage horses, this big draft horse, across the street. So I had finished my dinner early, and I decided I'm going to go over there and offer Reiki. And so I started talking to the lady, and I was telling her what I did. She didn't know what I did. But in my talking to the lady, I never said, "Hey, I'm going to offer her." The horse's name was Max. Never said, "I'm going to offer Max Reiki." I just talked to her. But what I did inside was I slowed my breath, I slowed my mind. I let go of all worry. I let go of anger. I let go of all feelings except for love for Max. And I talked to the lady just like I'm talking to you. And as I'm talking to Max, or as I'm talking to the lady, Max starts to lower his head, and he starts to go down and starts doing the typical horse acceptance of Reiki, which is yawning, hanging their heads, eyes get droopy. Now, didn't ask the lady permission, asked Max's permission. In my head, Max, I would love to offer you some support. If you're open to it, great. If not, no worries. I'm going to talk to this person. And I just sat there and talked slow and kept my breath low and slow, or deep and slow, actually, deep and slow, and just talk to her, but talk to her calmly, quietly. And Max responded, because the animals aren't responding because we're going, okay, I'm going to do Reiki. And now, we're not beating, but I'm doing Reiki and, like this magical thing it's like Reiki on, Reiki off. Reiki off. It's not like that. We are our Reiki. We are love. We are joy. We are compassion. But what happens is we're stressed and we're out here, and so we lose sight of it. So we have to bring ourselves back down. We have to let go of anger. We have to let go of worry. And now we can be in that compassionate place. So with Max the carriage horse, it was funny when I went back to my group. Kelly and Kathleen were like, "Oh my god, that was so funny." You could see Max just totally letting go and getting Reiki, but even though I wasn't doing a formal, "Okay, Max, it's you and I. Okay, and here we are." You don't have to do that. That's not necessary. That's why distance Reiki works so well, because you can really go inward and let go of what's happening on the outside. Now, I could have focused on, oh my gosh, Max, does he have enough water? He's hot, he's sweaty, blah, 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 blah. I could have done that, but I didn't. Instead, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be with Max. And throughout when I'm talking to her, I'm so excited. Thank you, Mel. I'm so excited to be talking to this woman and to have Max give me these signs that he is loving this presence. He's like loving the acknowledgement that he is actually important, that he is seen, right? How many people are getting the carriage and not seeing Max, seeing how wonderful he is to carry them to where they want to go, to carry them around the city? He has such an important job. And to be acknowledged meant something to Max. He could relax, he could feel that deep love. And I continued to send him distance and tell him how incredibly awesome he was and how wonderful it was and how much joy he's bringing. And it's the same with the orcas in captivity. We want to get stuck on they're in captivity. This is very sad. They're, they're not, they don't have that faith. But what the animals of care have taught me, and Kelly, you can also talk a little bit of this if you want, because I know you've been there, is that even though they are in cages, their mind isn't caged. Their mind can go everywhere. You can take these animals everywhere. I remember I've told this story many, many times, how when I first met the tigers at care, and I was only with them for like an hour total. But when I left, I meditated with them almost every single day for a year, where I would bring them to me, where we would run through the jungle together. I would imagine us together. And I thought, okay, I'm just making this up. This is just me having a good time, right? But when I went back a year later with Kathleen, and Kathleen has her own stories, and so I won't go into hers, but when I went to the tigers greeted me like a best friend. And it's not how they greeted anyone else, especially these tigers, they had been abused. But they showed me that every time I thought of them, now I can't prove that they were with me when I was doing all these things, but every time I thought of them, they were with me. They came to me. And so it's really important when we're thinking about animals who are in captivity or who may be abused or in less than ideal situations, that we focus on the love and joy in our heart and not on what's happening out here. They have free minds. Their minds can go somewhere else. And that's what the animals at care have shown us. And Kelly, if you want to say something about your experience at care and what you've experienced with that freedom of mind or what you've seen there.
I haven't really had the experience that you've had, but I don't feel when I'm with those animals that there is any enclosure or any boundary. And I visually am seeing it, of course, but in that space of Reiki and connecting with the animals, we're all free is how I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jamie, I don't know if you want to say something about that as well, too.
Yeah, I think just being the presence, being love, being in that space, very seldom do I sit like in formal meditation or when I'm meeting an animal or anything like that, going to a new place. I just use the breath, I slow my breath, I'm calm, and I'm usually in a good place anyway because I like meeting animals. I met Jackson, the Red Rock burro, who he was a wild burro as a baby. His mom was killed. So he was raised by the BLM or something like that. And he educates people. He goes into schools. And I was out there and they told me, now don't come in, because he's really odd with new people. And he came right up to me and, it's like, oh, Jackson, it's so nice to meet you. I'm thinking, and they're amazed. So they said, well, come on in. So I went in and Jackson and I got along famously. And then they said, you want to walk him? And it's like, oh yeah, let's go for a walk, Jackson. That'd be fun. And so I think, it surprised a lot of people, but it wasn't that I was like doing, Reiki or meditation with him. I was just being in that space. And he responded immediately.
And that's what we have to focus on, right? It's like we have to focus on that energy of love, appreciation, of gratitude, of happiness, of peace. Because like think about yourself, and we've all had situations, and I think about when I went through this really horrible, ugly divorce, and it was ugly for so many reasons. Um, and I remember throughout it that there was so much joy and laughter, and that's what helped me get through it, right? So when people could make me laugh, or when I could laugh, or when I could watch something funny on TV and get myself out of that, there was so much power in that, as opposed to the people who would talk to me and be like, what are you going to do, blah blah blah, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to. It was like, okay, I can't be around you. I mean, I know you mean well, and I know that your information is valid and helpful, but the energy, I can't do that. Whereas I had friends that would make me laugh all the time. We would laugh about the situation. Like we talk about, I relate a story and I'd go, oh my God, can you believe this? And we laugh about it. Because it's not like it took away what was happening to me. Nothing can fix that, right? I had to go through a process. There was a lot happening, but I came out on the other side so much better and so much happier. And I would repeat the same exact thing, doing exactly what I did, because it showed me that in times of darkness, there is always light. In your worst possible moment, there is always light. There is always joy, and you can always be elevated above what's happening here, this gunk, this dirt, this uck. You're down here and you're like, oh my God, I am going to die. And I cried. I cried so hard I couldn't even breathe. But yet I would get, okay, I got to make myself laugh. Something has happened. I talked to my friends. They would make me laugh. And then you're up here. Oh, this feels so much better. And that's what we bring to the animals. We bring that same exact thing. They might be in a less than desirable, like the orca. The orca are here with us thanks to Bruce and Barbara. And so the orca are with us today. And we can think, oh wow, they're in these little things. Or we can think, wow, they bring so much joy to tens of thousands, millions of people, right? Around the world get joy from watching. They're also educating people. Orca are so important to our ecosystem. So even though these orca are caged, they're also allowing people to see an orca in real life and to understand, my God, they are majestic, beautiful creatures. They are so powerful. We don't have to focus on where they live and the darkness. We can focus on, wow, this incredible joy. And guess what? The reason we even care about wild orcas is because we know so well about the caged orcas. We know them, we understand them, we see them. So there's something that's like, oh wow, that's familiar to us. So we actually care when we hear something. So how much would you care if you had never heard about an orca, never seen an orca, yet you heard, oh, they're attacking boats? You go, oh, that's too bad. Okay, anyway, move on, right? Like, it's something that it's not it's not something but knowing what we know about these beautiful orcas, having grown up, every single one of us has grown up knowing about orcas. Now we see the wild orcas and we go, wow, that's interesting. Whoa, they're upset. Maybe we should pay attention to what they're trying to tell us, right? So we don't have to focus on the bad, because there's nothing one person, unless I mean, I don't even know if a billionaire could solve this problem, could go in and go, okay, all orcas are free, or all orcas now live in this huge area of the ocean and they could be free. We can't do that one person, but what we can do, which each and every one of us can do, is we can elevate them and help them feel supported and loved. And Bruce said that after he and I connected and I sent out a plea, and I have one friend and she connects deeply with the orcas, and I was asking people, could you please help support the orcas? There was a shift. There was also some confusion because some people were connecting to them and feeling sorry, right?
Mm.
And so we always tell people, if you can't raise your energy and be in that energy of love and joy, then don't connect with them right now. Okay, wait until you feel really good. Maybe wait till you find something to be really happy about, and then connect with them and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with you, and you are so amazing, and connect then. Just like I shared last week, and Kelly, you weren't here. I shared the story of the possum that was rescued from care. Remember? And we were asking people, if you can't be in that energy of joy and love, then don't go sit with the possum. And I don't know if you want to say something about that, because it was a hard thing to see what the possum was going through.
Yeah, that's definitely the most challenging part, I think, of what we do is to see an animal in distress and try to hold that space, heart, with the heart and love and compassion when all we want to do is fix it. All we want to do is see them better, and it's really hard to not have that interfere with what we're doing. So I think it's an excellent point that we really need to check in and see where we are emotionally and if we're able to sit with them. And one of the things I find really helpful is to do a little benefactor practice and bring, the bring to my own mind, into my heart, somebody, specifically, usually my kitties, that really open my heart and make me feel love and joy and compassion before I go into a situation like that. So finding that within myself and making sure it's there, and I'm not going in there with this, oh, you poor thing, are you going to make it kind of attitude. So that's not helpful at all.
Yeah, and for those of you who weren't with us last week, so the little possum had come onto Kristen's property. Now, she isn't licensed to do animal rehab, like wild animal rehab like that. So when the possum came onto her property, she actually could help the possum. And the possum, they think, had been picked up by a hawk or an eagle. He had a puncture that went kind of under his skin, and it had maggots in it. So he had been injured for a while. So she was able to take him, clean it out. And I can't remember, Kelly, did he live 1 or 2 days after she got him?
He was still there when I was there by myself that day.
Oh yeah, and then he I think he passed the next
Yeah,
day. So he
I
was
don't
there
know.
for about 3 or 4 then.
Yeah.
So it was really amazing that, and we could focus on the fact that he was safe. He didn't die suffering. He died with pain medication, food in his stomach, and lots of love and comfort,
Yeah,
right?
lots of
And
Reiki.
so, yeah, and lots of Reiki. And Reiki isn't, we can't say, oh, this is going to fix this. It's going to heal them. We can focus on, this is going to make them feel safe and comfortable. Yes, Mel.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I have a new job, so I'm like working as I'm watching you guys today. So,
No worries.
um, but I agree with what you just said because I work with a wildlife rehabilitator, and she always sends me photographs and stuff of the new ones, and she works with mostly babies. And so I do Reiki on them when they first get there to calm them down, to help them with the process of adjusting and everything. And she's just like, oh my God. And when she needs extra help, she'll like always like, I need some right now. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, let me get on it. But there's so many times where she loses one because they're emaciated. Or because she had one that was literally found behind the wall, and he just couldn't make it. So, you know, and she doesn't get like attached, but she gets attached because they're little living beings, you know.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
I told her the same thing. You know, at least he didn't die in the wall by himself. He knew love, compassion, comfort, warmth of a food, warmth of a, whatever you had him in, a blanket. He didn't have to be there by himself. And
Right.
that is what, and then she's like, that just makes her feel like her job's even more important
Right.
because, she knows that this is what she can give them. I'm like, this is what they take with them. They're not going to take with them that they were stuck in a closet or in a wall for however long. What they're taking with them is the last moments of being held, of the love that you shared with them, and that is so important.
Exactly. And a lot of times they let go once they're safe because they no longer have to struggle to survive. You hear that all the time in rescue, that they finally can let go. And so thank you, Mel, so much for adding to that. And so if you do have a question, you can either just like wave your hand on screen if you're on screen, or you can do your emoji, or you can unmute, and I'll try and see. I do have my notes in front of me, so I might miss you, and hopefully Jamie will catch you. So Lisa is the one that, I had said at the beginning that brought forth this, and her question came because she sees a lot of people, homeless people, with their animals, and it can be really sticky or scary to engage with the person. And so she wants to know how she would handle that. And I'd love to get input on it from Jamie and Kelly about this as well before we turn it all to open it up to all of you to get your comments. But what I would say to that is, again, we don't have to ask the person, we ask the animal. And you can go do distant Reiki. And again, just like I did with Max, the carriage horse, if you do talk to a homeless person, you do it slowly, you do it calmly, and you just talk about their dog. You don't have to say, hey, I want to offer Reiki and go into a long diatribe about Reiki. It's going to confuse them if they don't know anything about it, or they might feel like, wait a minute, you're trying to say something's wrong with my animal. And that's really offensive. So when we're talking to people, we have to remember we say everything through the veil of the precepts. Don't say anything with anger or worry, right? Worry is a big one. We're worried about the dog. We're worried about the people taking care of the dog. Instead, we have to be humble, we be compassionate, we be grateful, right? And so in that space, now we say things lovingly. We don't attack, we don't judge. It's not fair to judge these people. In my experience, homeless people are taking better care of the animals than they are of themselves. It may not be ideal, it may not be how we would want them to live, but the people are with them because they care and they need that connection. And we all know how healing animals are. And also, homeless animals have a big job to do. They are caring for the person. They are there for that person. And who are we to judge how that happens and how that looks? So my advice, and I'll open it to Jamie and then Kelly, is to offer it distantly. And if you do talk to the person, don't mention Reiki. Just talk to the person, talk about the dog, talk about joyful things, because the dog also can feel your judgment. Don't forget that. And that is hugely important. I remember one time I was mucking a stall with a friend of this horse. It was at a boarding facility because the woman who owned the boarding facility wasn't caring for the horse, right? And my friend and I were like, oh my God, I can't believe she would do this, that she wouldn't muck this stall. And the horse got depressed. The horse was getting more and more depressed. And we were like, oh my God. So we started saying, well, it's really wonderful that she's here and she brings so much joy. And as we started talking happier and more, more positively about her owner, she started to perk up, so that when we left, she felt good. Judgment is a really negative energy, and it makes the animals feel bad. So don't go with judgment when you talk to anyone, whether it's a homeless person or somebody, who's wealthy and maybe, walking down the street. You don't want to judge ever. So Jamie, I want to open that to you because I know we're getting on time here.
Yeah, I would just, when it comes to Reiki, there's a lot of rules that they're just rules. I have issues with rules. I always have all my life. And I honor the tradition. I see it as a tradition, and that's a beautiful thing. But do I think I need to ask the owner's permission? Absolutely not. Because really, I think the reason they say, you must ask permission, you must do this, it's what is your intention? And it kind of goes back to like when I was in fire and the fire code, sometimes it would say this, and then right below it, it would contradict itself. And we would have to look at what's the intention. And I think with Reiki, when we want to offer Reiki to animals, what is our intention? For all of us here, it's not going to be a bad thing. It's not going to be where it's invasive to the animal. It's going to be just a gentle, loving, holding space. You're welcome to join me if you want. However you participate's fine. So we know that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's really important, even with people. it does, if somebody says no, it doesn't mean you can't, if especially distantly, which is what we normally do. It's different if you're hands-on, right, with people, or animals, those who do that. That can be very invasive, I think. And so, but the way we offer it, we sit in meditation, we create a beautiful space, we hold it. If an animal wants to walk into it, great. If a person wants to walk into it, great. If they don't, that's okay too. We are just adding love and peace and joy out into the world and the universe. So anybody is welcome who wants that or feels they
Yeah.
need it. And that's
I-
how I look at it. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Jamie. And Kelly, do you want to add to that?
Actually, that was really great, Jamie. Thanks for saying that. And I was thinking how, if we're approaching someone, for instance, who's homeless and bringing judgment or, questioning what's happening with their animal, there's also that fear that we're bringing up for them that, am I going to lose my animal
Yeah.
over this person's approach to me? And
Yeah.
and I really see the, it's the metaphor of us being the sun and, just shining that light. And so it's really, how do we do that with just, when we walk up to the person, how are we approaching them? Are we approaching them, with fear or, disgust or whatever it is? Or are we just bringing an open heart to that conversation? And through that, and treating them as human beings and bring that, that piece to it helps them to feel more relaxed, which then also helps their animals. But I think, your story, Leah, is a really good example. You're just shining when you're doing that. And so it's not like you're focusing specifically on the animal, but you're bringing that light to the situation. And just, that compassion of seeing someone who's struggling, but not holding them in judgment or bringing more fear and worry into an already difficult situation for them.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week, worry and fear bring that heavier, darker feeling, whereas love and light expands everything. Thank you so much, Kelly. And that's such a great point that you made about them feeling like they could lose their animal. There's so many considerations, and again, that's judgment. We have to be so careful about judgment. It's so easy for us to go into that space. So Susan, who is on the call, she had a question too. So she's at a shelter offering her services, and she hasn't been refused by any one person regarding Reiki for their cat, but she has gotten a cold shoulder from the Humane Society when she offered as a volunteer to do group Reiki in the cattery. There's about 20 cats, and no one was explicit about the rules or procedures, timing, etc. No one even asked about it, her qualifications, or what it would do. They just stonewalled her, right? And they gave her silent treatment. And so she would have talked to a lady who was in charge, but she retired. So I think that in a shelter, this is a little bit different, right? Because and I'm glad that Kelly's here because Kelly has a lot of experience at shelters, and she has experience at shelters that don't really talk about or openly accept what she's doing. So what my response to this is basically, again, animals have agency. Even though they're in a shelter, they still have agency. And you're asking permission of the animals. And you don't really need permission. Like when I was in a shelter, I told them what I did, but I didn't really ask permission when I was doing it. I just would go sit because all you're doing is just sitting. It's like socializing. You're just sitting with the animal. They don't need to know what you're doing. You're just shining your light. But you can ask yourself, I made some questions that you can ask yourself in a shelter environment. And one is what you are doing harmful to the animal? No, it's not. Is what you're doing harmful to other humans? If you're doing the let animals lead way, no, it's not. Are you breaking any volunteer protocol? Are you going where you're not allowed? Are you being disruptive to the animal? So maybe you're sitting in front of them and they really don't want you there. Are you continuing to sit there and upset them? Are you being disruptive to humans? Are you going where you shouldn't be going? Are you interrupting conversations? Are you inserting yourself where you shouldn't be? Are you creating more work for the shelter? Are you saying, well, I need a quiet room. I need this, I need that. Are you creating something that is going to be disruptive? And if the answer is no, 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 then you just go and you sit and you do your Reiki. And whatever happens, happens. Because again, you're the sun, Susan, right? You are sharing love and light. And whatever cats want to come to you, great. And if the shelter sees it, what then happens is they'll go, wow, every time you go in there, it's so cool because the cats, the ones that aren't even friendly, come and sit with you. What's going on? And then you can say, well, what I do is Reiki. So before I open it to you, Kelly, I want to just open it to Susan because she might have a question that you could answer. Susan, so I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and make any comments, and then we'll let Kelly respond to that. Because I know Kelly has a lot of experience with that. She has, I think, don't you have like 6 shelters, Kelly, that you're
Yeah, I'm going into
supporting?
one regularly. A lot of my students are in Vermont are going into other ones. So
So yeah,
there are
so
some who are just members of Sarah. So
great, perfect. So Susan.
Yeah. Well, it's frustrating, and I was so excited about all of this that I thought, of course, everybody else would be too. So when I got the back off, it wasn't to me personally. It was, we don't want no woo-woo. Yeah,
Right.
it just was a generic type of response. And I now not only realize that, but I have come to the point of thinking, start with one animal and
Yeah.
then grow from there. That's my personal solution for this, and it seems to work. Because one time when I was at the shelter, this is actually before I even started Reiki, I was in the cattery. I was potentially looking for a cat, but I wasn't terribly serious. But I went through all the upper cages and the lower cages, and there was one cage that I couldn't access because a young couple, probably 30 or so, were looking at something very seriously, and I thought, I'm not gonna spoil their party. So, and I'm not gonna take. So anyway, I finished. I went back to the counselor and gave her the names of all the cats I was potentially interested in. And she said, oh, well, we need the cage numbers too. Okay. So I went back specifically to all of them, including the one I couldn't see, and the couple was gone. So I just thought, okay, I'm just going to be cheery and light about this. Remember, this is pre-Reiki, so I didn't know what I was doing. And I bent down to look, and this beautiful jellicoe, what do we call them? Tuxedo cat
Oh,
got up and came right to the cage. And at that moment, the counselor came in to see if she could help me figure this out. And she said, oh my goodness, that cat has never come to the cage front before. And I just thought, well, maybe nobody had truly invited her. I didn't know. Now I see that whole scene as a totally different perspective, and how we don't do it for them. I couldn't judge her. When I did see her, I was smitten. There's no question. But it just mirrors everything you have just said, and so this has been a great lesson. I also have one other tiny story I want to tell. The whole concept of the orcas taking on a different level of concern, and not worry, but concern, in the world is greater with people who are familiar with the commercial orcas, the ones who work in private places. And I live on an island outside of Seattle. So when I go into the city, it's a half-hour ferry ride to go there. And maybe 2 times a year, but I don't go that often. So I don't know how many times this actually happens. The captain will come on the thing and he'll say, there is a pod of orcas off the port bow. Please don't all go to the same place at one time, but you don't want to miss them. And the interesting thing is I happened to be already there, so I stayed and saw them. And I swear, when there was a bunch of people all oohing and ahhing and telling them how beautiful they were, those orcas got more energetic And then eventually, I mean, it was so clear exactly what you're saying. They got the picture, and they know they're admired. Yeah. So anyway, that's my
Oh,
short.
Susan, thank you so much for sharing that. That's so lovely. And again, so that's such a great example, right?
It's
Joy,
perfect.
happiness
Yeah.
expands and it lifts
Yeah.
and it creates more energy like that, right? Because whatever we put out, we get back. Whatever we put out, we get back. We're putting out worry, we're getting back worry. We put
Yeah.
out joy and love, we're getting back joy and love. So I love that. Thank you so much. So Kelly, did you
Yeah.
have anything more to say about Reiki at the
Um,
shelter
yeah,
and
so
you
I,
know,
I just would quickly say that, well, first of all, Mary Lynn is working in a shelter that's very, very open to Reiki. So it's been great there. And then a couple of our other members who aren't here today, Judy Holmes and Beth Beecham, were at another shelter who's very open. But that director of that shelter was in charge of the shelter I go to when I first started. And she was on maternity leave when the assistant director said, yeah, sure, come on in and try and do it. And when the actual director came back from maternity leave, she was really skeptical. But in my time there, I've done not just, work with the animals, but, wash dishes when I'm in with the dog in, one of the rooms, and the dog pees on the floor, I go and get the mop. So, those kind of things help them to be more open to what we're serious. I take the job seriously. Like, it's not just like, oh, I might come in today, I might come in next week, or take 2 months off and not tell anybody. It's not that kind of thing. I'm regular, diligent about what I do, and I let them know what I'm doing. But also, I don't force it on anybody. I always offer to the staff when I go in. They're complaining about aches and pains. I'm like, hey, 5 minutes in the Reiki chair, be great. But no pressure. But they watch what I'm doing. So when just going in, and when I sit in the cat room, I'm not specifically there for any cat in particular usually, but I just sit and do my meditation, and the cats come and go as they please. But now the people I'm working with regularly on Sundays are very much like, okay, we need this one, this one, this one, and this one done today. So it's a whole different story, and it's evolved over the years. I've been there, I don't know, I started in 2008 or 9 there. So I've been there a long time, but it's a evolving staff as well, a lot of times in the back.
mhm.
So there's off and on skepticism, but I've been a steady volunteer, and they see results. They definitely see changes in the animals, and I'm only going in once a week, so I do a lot from home as well. But yeah, it's I think a lot of what we have to remember to be successful is being patient and not forcing anything, and being, you listed it all, Leah, like stay out of the way, don't, need anything, do your best to just be as unobtrusive and quiet and, sort of in the background as possible. And, not get in their way. And I think they really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think they do too, because I have the exact same situation as you. And the thing that I love about you, what you're sharing, is that you've been there since 09, 08, 09. They're not going, hey, we help promote Reiki, blah, blah, blah. It's just they accept it. And that's huge. So you may not get this, wow, now the whole shelter is going to be off, wanting Reiki for all their staff. And it's, they're too stressed. They're too busy. Too much is going on. But the fact that they're okay with it. And that's really, Susan, just keep doing what you're doing and you'll see results. And that will be a really great thing.
Well, they
So
also actually, they
oh,
let
go
me
ahead.
teach there. And, they started to let me teach there, even though none of their, maybe 1 or 2 staff have taken the class. And they let me do an introduction where the staff did attend briefly years and years ago. But that woman who was so skeptical went to another shelter where Beth and Judy are now volunteering, and she's very open to what we do. So,
Because she had such a positive experience, and that's
right.
really what we want to focus on, the positiveness of it, right? We don't want to make more work for them. And that might have been what it was, Susan. It might have just sat there because they're like, oh, this isn't important, right? We've got to deal with really important things. So never take a no or silence as a total no. And again, just go do your thing, be the light. The one thing I want to just mention, I know Jamie's going to have something to say about this too, is your mindset is very important. Is your mindset narrow? is your mindset, it has to happen like this, or it has to look like this, or you're thinking about worry as a narrow mindset, or are you expansive, or are you thinking about, well, I'll just go and do this and I'll just be the light, right? Expansive energy. It's a growth mindset is what they call it. You know, there's fixed mindset, there's growth mindset, but really you want your mindset to be open, to be expansive. So Jamie, I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll have probably time for one more question.
Yeah, that's so important because, we have to ask ourselves, what does a Reiki session look like to me? And then once we start describing that, if it's very narrow, very fixed, that's not an expansive or growth mindset. And truly, where we're happy, where we find joy, where we're able to combat or pick ourselves up when we have challenges, where we can see the lessons in the challenges, as when we're in that growth mindset. The fixed will stop us every time, and we're not going to be able to offer what we want to offer to the animals. Things are going to get in our way. Our mindset is going to get in our way. It's going to prevent us from really being as effective as we could possibly be with the animals. Instead, when we work on our mindset and realize that, and it's expansive and it's loving, and if something goes like we don't think it should, we can just look at that and go, well, that's really interesting. I wonder what I'm supposed to be learning from that, and not take it as, oh, they said no, and it's not working. We just look at it differently. How we approach everything is very, very different when we come from a growth mindset.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you, Jamie. So we have about time for maybe one more question if someone wants to ask, because we want to give plenty of time to do a meditation at the end, and we're going to dedicate this to the orcas. So if anyone has a question, you can raise your hand or a comment or anything. I'll give you all a second. You can unmute, whatever that is. No one wants to say. Yeah, Gabby, go right ahead.
I'll try to go quick. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for having me. I go on Thursdays to a meditation class here in Los Altos. And some people, we bring our pets, and we bring pets, and I bring two, and they're very well behaved. I was there earlier, and it's a chiropractor place for animals. And the owner was talking with somebody, and that person immediately came to the dogs. I'm like, oh, they're so cute. And she immediately started with the hands. I'm like, oh no. She's like, can I do Reiki on them? And the dogs were just like freaking out. I'm like, that's very kind of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I think they're just, I want to have them settle in first. And I said, thank you. But I didn't want to be rude, but I could see the dogs were freaking out. Like, why is she doing this to me? And yeah, that was like, and I was like, why are you bringing the dogs to meditation? I'm like, well, we do this. Jamie lets me do this, the owner. I'm like, so they do, like, yeah, but this is Reiki. Like, I'm like, actually, when we do the meditation, I work with them. And she just looked at me like, I'm like, oh dear. I was like, so she actually stayed. She sat down and stayed. She's like, I don't think, because there was a farmer's market outside. It's Thursday farmer's market here in Los Altos. It's like, they're going to be, and yeah, the dogs were all active because she was getting them all active. But the moment we started the meditation, and I started, they do the meditation, but I started doing my hara, my light, and everything. The pets were just like, there were kids running outside the window. And the pets, there were dogs barking. And my pets were like 10.
Yeah.
At the end, the lady's like, wow. I'm like, yeah, it kind of works.
And you know what? And that's more powerful. The example, that what they can see, because we can tell people this is what it looks like. This is what it does. We can just, I have this in my cannabis business because I have a business where we mark edibles, and it's so hard to explain. And then you show pictures and you show it on food, and they go, oh yeah, I get it. And then until they see it and they can eat a piece with the marking on it, they don't get it. And it's the same with Reiki. It's like nobody really gets it until they see it or experience it. So I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gabby. That was really important. Because again, that traditional Reiki, hands on. That's why we don't ever do that. And they're also thinking about what's wrong. I need to fix you. I need to fix you. Animals are up here. We're down here. Like, they're like, if anyone's going to do the fixing, I'm going to fix you, human. You're not going to fix me. All I want
Yeah.
from you is enlightenment. I want a lighter, loving, joyful energy. That's what they're trying to show us, because that's what's powerful. And I love that the orcas are showing us that is
Mm.
what they want, because the more of us out there just beaming light, sharing joy, sharing peace, right? We're elevating the entire consciousness of the world, because we're all connected. It's quantum physics. We're all connected. So we're going to do a meditation, and we're going to do our traditional hara breathing meditation. So the hara is our belly, and our belly grounds us. It's our connection to the earth. But we're also going to be expanding our light and our love, and we need to be grounded in order to do that, right? So, like, just think, if you're all up here, all joy, love, psychic abilities, all this, you're like this, you're like an upside down pyramid, and you can topple. But when you're grounded, you can share joy and love. And when things happen to you, it's not going to shake you. Or better yet, like a tree with deep roots, you might sway a little in the time of dark times, but you're going to just be upright again. So that's what we're going to work on. So when we do our breath, we breathe in through our nose and we breathe out through our mouth. The trick of really relaxing your body is make sure you're breathing out longer than you're breathing in. It doesn't have to be, 10 seconds longer, just a couple seconds longer. So we will go back into Gasho again, and we've set our intention that we're here to support the orcas. And we've set our intention that we're open to receive whatever it is that we need most. But let us also set our intention that we are here to help support any and all animals. And if there is an animal, a situation, or a person that needs extra support, just put it into our beautiful healing circle that we're creating. Knowing that there is so much power in a group. And whenever you're ready, you can put your hands face up or face down. Close your eyes to block out all outside distractions. And breathe in gently through your nose, pulling your breath deep into your belly. Expand your belly, and then slowly release that breath out your mouth. And with your breath goes all tension in your body, all worry, all concern. 2 more breaths like that. Feel your shoulders relax, your jaw soften. And now I'd like you to imagine pulling your breath down to your belly, and at your belly is a light. And when your breath hits your belly, you ignite the light. And on the out breath, that light expands in your belly. Breathing in, touching the light at your belly, and expanding it out on the out breath. Just continue that slow and even breath. Breathing in life and breathing out love and light. See the light at your belly growing, filling your entire belly, coming down into your legs, into your feet, and into the earth. The light travels up into your chest, down your arms, into your hands. Feel the light coming up into your neck, into your head, and out the top of your head. The light seeps out every pore of your body. You are a beautiful, loving, radiant person. You are like the sun. This light is your true essence. It is the essence of love, kindness, compassion, peace, and joy, and happiness. This is who you are at your core. This light shines out into the space around you. It travels further and further out into the universal light. Feel your light join the light of others. See the world encompassed in light. Your light is powerful. Your light is healing. And the animals, they want to join this light with us. Now feel the orca joining us in this light, expanding our light, expanding our heart. Feel all the other animals joining us. We are all light and love in this space. We have joy. We have happiness. We have peace. You might feel your physical heart start to expand. You might feel your body start to lift. The energy of love and light within you is so powerful, yet it is so light. It fills you, the beautiful light that lifts you. Just sit in this space and enjoy this feeling of love and light and connection with all these beautiful souls and animals. Feel your love and light being mirrored back to you, expanding you. Allow yourself to relax deeply in this beautiful space. If your mind starts to wander, bring it back to your breath. Bring it back to that feeling of love. If you allow yourself, you can feel the love of the animals beaming back to you. If this feeling brings you joy, allow yourself to smile. Allow yourself to deeply feel this joy and love. Slowly bring yourself back to the room, back into your body. Focus on your breath. Take a couple deep breaths in and out, feeling that physical breath in and out. And slowly open up your eyes, bring your hands into Gasho. Give thanks to all the beautiful beings that joined us. Give thanks to yourself for being open to this beautiful healing experience. and keep this beautiful feeling of love and joy with you throughout your day, throughout your week, and tap back into the space, knowing that all you have to do is close your eyes and say, and set your attention. I want to be back into that space and go back there. And always, as we go leave today, let us remember the orcas. Let us bring the orcas into our daily life, according to Bruce. And I know this happened with the tigers. They love to be out. They love to feel what you're feeling, right? And so allow that to happen. And I want to thank all of you for joining us. 802, I'm not sure who you are, but thank you so much. Wilma, so nice to see you. Heidi, thank you so much for joining us. Gabby, thank you. Mary Lynn, Kelly Louise, thank you so much. Beth, so good to see you. We haven't seen you in a while. Susan, Barbara and Bruce knew it too, as well as Heidi. So thank you so much. And Kelly, always a pleasure, and Mel too. And Kelly, we're so lucky to have Kelly join us from time to time because she is the director at Sarah, and she always has so much wisdom to share. So we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to do that. And then yes, Wilma, and thank you, Beth. And yes, and don't forget the orcas, you guys, when you're doing your sessions. And my neighbor's goats were with this session.
Yes.
Oh, how cute. That's so sweet. So it's really powerful what we did. You can come back, you can listen to this, and you can even join again and again on the recording, or you can just do it on your own. Next week, we're going to talk about whether or not you have to do the formal practice, right? Every single time. And we kind of covered it this time, but we're going to talk more deeply.
Is it
But it's
next
going to be the
week?
12th.
Yes.
It's going to be the 12th. The 5th, we're taking off for the holiday. If you're in America, it's 4th of July holiday. If you're not in America, like some of you aren't, you'll just have the week off. So thank you all so much. And Barbara and Bruce, thank you so much for bringing the orca in. That was beautiful. Mwah.
Thanks,
Bye,
Leah,
everyone.
Jamie. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Bye, Mary Lynn.
joyous.
Thank
Bye.
you, Mary Lynn.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.